Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to Sidebar Sessions. I hope everyone is doing well on this awesome Thursday. And boy, do we have a treat for you. I'm going to share this in a couple of places. You guys give me just a second, but we are on today with a very special guest, and we'll be talking about finding freedom in our finances, getting our money right. Okay? So, like I said, I hope everybody is having a great
Oh, sorry.
for
Yeah.
you.
Sorry
I'm gonna
about
share
that.
this.
Sorry about that.
Hey, we're human. We are human in Sweet Tea Gems.
Yes, we are.
So I want to thank everyone who tuned in to our last sidebar session where we were talking about our favorite things. And one of our favorite things we mentioned were in the financial categories. And I mentioned that I have been reading an awesome book called Finding Freedom in Finances, a 21-day devotional written by a friend of mine, Latrisa Pugh. And I am just honored that we have her on today. Latrisa is a director of finance at University of Alabama. Roll Tide, but she is also the author of said book, Finding Freedom in Finances, and a coach with Pugh Financial Coaching. So we want to give Latrisa a warm welcome. I also encourage you as we are going through our discussions, you guys holler back at us, ask your questions, make your comments, and we'll be sure to try to talk through them because we definitely want you to get a lot out of today's sidebar session. Mom, do you have anything to add to that?
No, just wonderful. So glad to have you on. I want to pronounce your name, but I want to keep saying Latricia, but it's Latrisa, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Latrisa.
Latrisa. Okay, so I want to get it right. But I'm
Yes.
glad to have you on here, and we're excited to dig in.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Welcome.
All right, well, let's dive right on in. So, Latrisa, let's let our viewers get to know you a little bit better. Tell us
Okay.
how you got into dealing with finance and what got you into financial coaching.
Okay. If you mind, do you mind if I go back a little bit?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. All right. So I started at UA, which is how me and Shafran know each other from college. But my freshman and sophomore year, I made like horrible financial decisions to the point where I actually overdrafted. Had overdraft fees in total of close to $500 in 1 year. And so at the time I was an engineering major. And so I'm a nerd. I'm still a nerd. I do not have any shame about being a nerd. But
There's your name.
yes, I exported my transactions from the bank. And that's when I learned. And actually the first step that I took was I actually went on a fast. And I fasted from Wendy's. I'm from the country, and we didn't have Wendy's back home. And I love Wendy's when I got to Tuscaloosa. And so that was really the first part. And then after that, I learned about balancing checkbooks, credit, just checking my credit. And it wasn't really until I was in my accounting class and we were learning about the time value of money. And I got really upset in class and I was like, why is this my first time hearing about this or it actually clicking? Because I could have heard about it before and not been really aware of what that meant. And so it was during the summer, I think summer 2007, I want to say, that I said, man, one day I'm going to help people. I did not know what that meant or how that would look at the time. And so I ended up changing my major to accounting, got my master's in financial planning and, really worked on my credit. And so even though I screwed up in the beginning, the first I guess, milestone is when I purchased my first car. I didn't have any interest on my vehicle. And so that just showed that you do not have to look like where you started. And from there, it's just been an ongoing thing. I got my master's in financial planning, and I taught at the university for a few semesters, and then decided to stop teaching for various reasons. But it was after that, then I started pursuing financial coaching at the beginning of 2018, and my 2-year anniversary is actually on Saturday. So.
Awesome.
Yes, so it's been great.
Congratulations. Awesome. So it seems like your struggles bore or birth what you're doing now, and
Yes.
your desire to help other people. And
right.
Even as I was reading, it was refreshing to see some of your personal struggles or challenges and your transparency. So I love people to be real, because I don't think you can really, help people if you're not willing to interject yourself in. So
Right.
I like that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's really important for me to share my truth, because a lot of times, and it's not just in finances, but just in general, I think people hold back their struggle and have this facade that, oh, I've had it right all this time. But in reality, in order to bring someone up, you have to share what you've overcome. And by sharing that you have overcome, it lets them know that I can get there too. And when you don't share that struggle, you prevent them the opportunity of understanding your testimony.
It's true.
Absolutely. And as I'm reading through this book, first of all, tell us how you ended up writing this particular book.
Man, look, I don't like it. Well, I would never consider myself to be a writer, right? So I love numbers, but writing, not so much, And so when the idea came up, actually it was one of my cousins who pitched the idea to me, as far as just writing a book in general. And then I was like, there's really not many financial devotionals that really help people to understand their finances, or just in general, where people profess that God is the guide in their finances.
Mm-hmm.
And, people give everything to God. I give myself away. I'm going to give my relationships to him. I'm going to give my job to him. I'm going to give sickness to him. But when it comes to my money, I'm going to hold on to that and try to figure it out for myself. So, just wanted to shed light on how God can be a piece of that puzzle too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I liked it because it was so practical.
Mm-hmm.
And you even had your worksheets and different things in there, and also the scriptural references. You're right. I really appreciated that, because people don't realize, or maybe they do realize, money is talked about in the Bible I don't know how many times.
Mm-hmm. So
it's a lot, exactly. Mm-hmm. So if God feels it's important, it should be important to us too. But.
Right.
Absolutely. And I think one thing that I took from reading through this devotional, yes, it's dealing with finances, and yes, it's dealing with stewardship and getting the money aspect of your life together, but just going through the concepts of transforming your mind, of chasing yourself and not others, using your talent, having discipline is key. These are life principles. Mm-hmm. These things can be applied to any area of your life and not just finances. So I took away from it that if you transform yourself from the inside, and allow God to make that change for you, the rest of it is going to fall in line, be it finances, be it relationships, be it your physical health, your mental health, etc., etc. So I thought this was a wonderful devotion. I've gotten through day 21, so I'm working through my bonus days.
Nice.
But guys, you need to get a copy of this book, Finding Freedom in Finances, the 21-day devotional. You can find this book on Amazon.
That's correct.
Anywhere else?
Or through my website if you would like a signed copy, which is pewfc.com.
And for those of you watching, you need to check the Sweet Tea Gems page tomorrow. We're going to be asking a financial question and giving away a copy of this book to one winner.
Hey,
yes.
Nice.
We're going to get somebody on the path to their financial freedom as well.
Yeah.
So,
can I add one thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, when you were talking about how finances impact other areas of your life, you know, the Bible says where your treasure is, you know, is in your heart. So what we do with our finances, whether we know it or not, is what we desire anyway. So if you're not prioritizing God with your money, it shows. If you are overspending and eating out or shopping, it shows. And so avoiding your finances doesn't take your desire away. The desire is still there.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to make sure that you deal with that issue, and that the devotional will help you to at least think about it. And that's the first step to get you thinking about it.
Yeah, I agree. And especially like what Fran said, when I was reading it, you know, getting in a mindset. And then, you know, you talked about weight struggles or health struggles. And I think, you know, hey, right here. And just getting started. What is stopping you from getting started? I think that's the biggest hurdle, at least for me, for anything, is to get started. And so, you know, like you said, this is just a good tool to get you to think and really evaluate where your treasures really are. So,
right. All right. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Awesome read. And just easy to get through, a lot of reflection.
Very easy read.
And actionable. I appreciate that there are practical action steps, not just dealing with finance. We want to concentrate on debt trackers. We want to concentrate on expense trackers, but getting into the deeper goal setting. And even for me, I've set my goals, but I've put them in my devotional journal, because those action items have become prayer requests.
Mm-hmm.
The things that I will continue to meditate on for year 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Right.
On, you know, step 1, step 3, what's my daily, weekly, and my month for my annual.
You better call out those worksheets. That's what I'm talking about. Yes. Yeah. I love it. I love it.
Good.
So again, for anyone who has joined us late or in progress, we are discussing Finding Freedom in Our Finances with Latrisa Pugh, author of Finding Freedom in Finances and the coach of Pugh Financial Coaching. So let's dive into some more specific questions about finance. Latrisa, what's your favorite, your top financial tip or tool for saving money?
I don't know if this is going to surprise you all or not, but my top tip is consistency. Continue to do it. I don't have a preference of how you decide to save, or if you do a percentage or an amount. The key is to continue to be consistent, so that build up your savings because you're consistent. It's also good to make it an automatic process. So if you can do direct deposit, that's great. Out of sight, out of mind. And also I know you asked for my top. I'm going longer, but the other thing is you can put your savings in a separate account, meaning that you don't have quick access to it. So if it's like an online account for me, that's what I do. Mine is an online account. So anytime I have to transfer funds out of my savings account, it takes usually 48 hours. I don't know. It's been a while since I've done it, but 48 hours for it to process. So do I really need that money?
Mm-hmm.
Time to think and to make sure that the money stays there. So putting that barrier helps, because if you have an issue with transferring, you save $50, but you're always transferring $30 every 2 weeks, then therefore you only save $20, my friend. You did not save $50.
That's right.
The idea is to keep it there, not for it to leave. So those are some quick tips.
I can vouch for both of those. I mean, that direct deposit thing, if I don't know it's there, that money just does not exist. And I personally have been saving in an account that's a bank where there is not a branch near me. So if I want to draw that money, I got to drive about 40 miles to go get it or pay a fee. So you got to think about that before you touch it.
Right.
I agree with the online too. Yeah. And a separate savings account that's not attached to your main, because otherwise you're right. Dipping. And you just, and for every positive, you got a negative, okay? Zero. Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Coins back and forth.
Back and forth.
Robbing Peter to pay Paul, and then you talk to Matthew too. So.
Right. So in terms, we talking about, setting aside money for different purposes. What do you suggest as a tool for budgeting?
So everything with finances it depends. Like, you're going to hear me say that a lot. And the reason why I say that is because everybody has different learning styles. So if you are a person who likes to write everything down, then a planner may be sufficient. If you are a spreadsheets person, by all means, go Excel. So I started off with Excel. Yeah, I started off with Excel. Then later I went to an app just for it's like balancing my checkbook. And eventually I use YNAB, or You Need a Budget. So it's an app. It's a subscription service. And every dollar is similar as well, but every dollar is free. But YNAB is my choice. And then for couples out there, there's an app called Honeydew. And that is resources you can use for budgeting as well. So, yeah.
So you just said every dollar, Honeydew, and
YNAB is acronym for You Need a Budget.
Oh, you need a budget.
Yes, yeah. So, yeah. So, and the reason why the thing about budgets is that a lot of people set budgets, but they don't stick to them. So, the key is what is your reflection of your budget? Are you going back to see, okay, so you budget $300 for groceries, but how much did you spend this month? Like, if you're only spending $200 a month, maybe it's time to readjust your budget to $200 and use that $100 for debt reduction. Or you're really spending $450, maybe you need to cut back on something and add more money to your grocery budget. So that's what you see more people have issues with. Most people don't have a problem with setting a budget. They have a problem with sticking to it.
This is true. Well, maybe you just answered it. I was going to say, what are some suggestions or tips or mindsets to get in to help you to stick to a budget? Is that just basically, again, back to that consistency or discipline?
Right. There are a couple of things that you can do. One, you have to get in a habit of doing a budget every time you're paid, because every pay period is different, and it's going to cause you to have different struggles or different things that you're responsible for. So get in the habit of doing it consistently. Again, that's going to be the key word for the day. And then another thing, you have to have accountability. And when I say that, there are two forms of accountability. So there's the internal accountability, meaning that you are actually balancing your checkbook and you know what's actually going on. So, and then there's the external accountability. If you're in a relationship, that should be your spouse. You should be communicating with one another about your finances or what you're supposed to be doing this week or next week or what's to come. And even if you're single, you should still have accountability. Me personally, I have two friends that I haven't in the last couple of weeks, just going to be completely honest, but I send them a report each week and I update them on my goals. Like, this is where I am. And so I'm not doing anything and they're probably going to call me out. I give them about a week because I haven't done it in a couple of weeks. They're going to say, Teresa, what's up with your goals? So you have to have people who are going to be honest with you. And that, again, it's the same way with their savings account. It just sets up another barrier or support to make sure that you stick to your goals.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Love it.
Yeah. And just as a reminder, I'm sending everyone a message. Be sure to ask your financial questions so we can answer them during our Q&A.
Sounds good.
I'm going to go on to the next one then, because it kind of piggybacks on what we just talked about. Okay. If you have, especially when you have a spouse, let's say you have varying financial styles. One's a spender and one's a saver. How do you manage those situations?
Well, the top thing is communication and making sure that you understand what the values are individually and collectively as a family, and having that on the table. So if I'll just use me for example, when I get married, I will have a conversation with my spouse that, hey, the reason why I really want to make sure that we do everything on time and we don't lapse on bills, I legit have a fear of coming home and when I turn the lights off, that the lights don't come on because I didn't pay the bills. That is a real fear. And so being transparent about why you make decisions, why you operate the way you operate, that will open the door for them to understand of what you do, why you do, and, and everything. On the flip side, it's okay for you to splurge within reason. So if your thing, I'm going to use you, for example, Sharon, okay. I know you like makeup, right? So you like makeup. That hasn't changed since I've known you. So if that's the case, then, if you have a certain amount for makeup, whatever that budget is, then as long as it's within that budget that you all have decided together, then that's perfectly fine. And so that gives the parameters for the relationship for you to enjoy the things that you like, and then for him to enjoy the things that he likes. So just having that communication, and then also setting goals. Like, what is the priority of the family right now? Are we saving for this vacation? Or are we trying to pay this debt off? Do we need new furniture? Like, whatever that goal is, and then making sure that you're communicating with one another. Because what you don't want to happen is to come home and you see shopping bags or new electronics and y'all didn't talk about it when y'all were supposed to be working on something else, and now y'all mad at each other for about a week because y'all didn't know what was going on in the other person's life.
And if I recall correctly, I don't know if this statistic is still true, so you guys fact check me, but money is the number one or number two cause of divorce. It's high up there on the list.
Oh yeah. Then you get those I'm fine conversations.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yes. So
Yeah, but you're really mad about, what happened, and it can stem for a lot of different things. But if you communicate before, the conversation is different. Because if you, like the scenario I just gave with the shopping bags or electronics, instead of it being, oh, so you went to that store again. Oh, babe, I saw you went to X, Y, and Z. Did you find all the stuff that you were looking for? Because it was already planned. That changed the entire context and tone of the entire night instead of y'all sitting at the table eating dinner with the forks clanging on the plates, So just being more open about that. It really helps. And that's what I've seen his work for my clients as well.
Awesome. I think that in communication part is definitely key. Mom, you've been married a long, long, long time and watched Dad kind of operate a cash register out of his pocket.
So yes.
With the whole. Go ahead.
And I was gonna say we do have that different. I'm pretty much the saver.
Okay.
And he is the spender. But you're right, the communication part is the key. Mm-hmm. And so good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Good.
So speaking of family, one thing that we talk about sometimes is as children, my brother and I in particular, we learned a lot from my parents' bought lessons about money. We learned a whole lot from the things they did well. We learned a lot from their mistakes, and they tried at a very young age to kind of stage teaching us different concepts about money. My first budget was like, they had these little plastic containers, they glad bags used to come in. And Mom sat me down and showed me this % of your money goes here, this % of your money goes here. Of course, it was quarters and stuff at the time, but that was my first intro into budgeting, into tithing, into savings. And the lessons I learned then stay with me as an adult right now.
Right.
So how do you suggest teaching children about money? Like when should you start?
There are appropriate conversations at any age.
Okay.
So, it can be as early as, how you might give a child $2 to buy something out at the store. And you probably got to give them $5 now. I mean, $2. But you give them that money and you have the conversation. So I've given you this $5. How much are you going to save? You know what? Just opening up the conversation, because you would be surprised like how much children can comprehend. They're smarter than what we give them credit for. And I think it's in the book where I talk about the conversation that I had with my niece. So she she had $20 that she earned from for her grades, because my home church, they give whatever they give for, if you make straight A's, you get money. And so I asked her right in that moment, I said, so you going to tithe? And she said, what? This is my money. I said, I understand that, but you're still supposed to give God 10%. 10%? I said, Jessica, you can't give him $2? I said, you keep 18. She said, oh, that's it. Yes, that's it. She said, yeah, I can do that. But that opened the door, so it was right there in the moment. And so using opportunities. So if they're talking about, or if you want to give them a snack budget, and expose them to what it means once you spend it, that's it. So, we hear that, but how do we do that? So you can give a child a budget of $20 or whatever it is and say, this is your snack money or to buy your snacks. And then tell them, hey, you're not buying any more snacks. Once you eat all of it, that's it. So that gives them the power to decide how to use the money and what they do with it afterwards.
That's important. That is important. Teaching them that when it's gone, and you gotta either earn it again or do something to,
Right.
and to realize, as the quote say, money doesn't fall out of the trees. Someone,
Exactly.
is working for this, and it just teaches so many good values. So I agree. I agree. Giving them allowances or whatever for chores. This is me. I don't just an allowance just to have. I think it ought to be tied to something. Is if it's grades, chores, or something that you have, earned this money, because that's how the real world is.
I actually did a contract with my nephews when they were in high school.
Oh.
Yeah, based off of their grades and their obedience played a factor. So their parents played a role in whether or not they would receive it. So so that was an interesting. It's not experiment, but I mean, it was their first contract. Like they signed and dated it and everything. So there are a lot of different ways that you can. I did that with their graduation present. So I gave them money, but there were stipulations. So if you save so much, I did a matching plan. So if you save this much, I'll match it. So, there are a lot of different ways that you can present opportunities for them to see real life application.
I like that.
I think that's so key, especially in our community. I find that a lot of my peers, and then even some of the kids I see coming up, they just leave home unprepared to deal with finances. Like you walk into your first corporate job and they start throwing all this stuff at you about benefits. They start talking to you about, you might have stock options that you can purchase in the company, or your first 401k, and you look at all that paperwork and it's like, what do I do with this? I ain't never heard of a retirement plan. I don't know the difference between a Roth IRA and a traditional one. I don't know anything about this. And a lot of times we end up missing opportunities or coming into certain things much later than some of our peers, because we're starting behind the 8 ball when it comes to finding. I know some people our age that don't have a budget. I know people our age and older who have never had a true savings account where they were accumulating anything, outside of a penny bake or some money in a mattress, which is another cultural thing,
Yes.
But just not really accumulating anything because no one talked to them at a young age or gave them opportunities like you have to exercise and experience that kind of empowerment.
Yeah, but it's really taboo in our culture to talk about finances, and I'm not going to assume where that stems from. I think a lot of it is due to the lack of knowledge. There is a fear of you don't want to share that you don't know.
Yeah.
And because of that, it holds us back, and that's why I encourage, I'm very honest and transparent in saying that I don't know all the answers. I don't have all the answers, but I guarantee that as I grow through this process, I'm giving out everything, and I don't want anybody to go through any of the struggles that I went through, in hopes that you don't have to experience anything that I went through. Let my bought lessons be your free lessons.
That's right.
Oh, you can continue to grow. And that's a huge problem in our community, a huge problem.
I like
that. Absolutely. So speaking of untapped frontiers for our community, what do you suggest in terms of getting into investing? Is there an appropriate time to do that, or way? How does one start with that?
Well, okay, first, let me put a disclaimer. I am not licensed to give any investment advice. So we want to put that out there. So not trying to have any type of lawsuits or anything like that. But number one, strive to get into saving habits first. Like, that's important before you start investing anyway. I'm not going to say that you need to have a fully funded emergency fund, which is 3 to 6 months of expenses before you start. You can start now. But in the biggest thing is you have to decide how much are you willing to lose, because investing is a long-term decision. So if you want to put $1,000 in a mutual fund or a stock market, or so be it, are you comfortable with losing $1,000 right now? Because it's not like you're going to be able to go back and get to it tomorrow, or get it immediately, or even get everything back that you put in. So it's really important to make that decision as to what you can afford to lose. And then from there, you can decide, if you need a financial advisor, or if you do it yourself. I know there's the Robinhood. You can even buy stock on Cash App now. So Cash App, and that's like on a smaller scale, meaning because you're buying a piece of a share, you're not buying a full share.
Mm-hmm.
So, but if you want to get into like Fidelity or Ameritrade, that's perfectly fine. I don't think there's necessarily one platform that's better than the other. It's more about just knowing what risk are you willing to take, and then going from there. I mean, personally, I started with just an individual account myself that I dabble in, and then when I want to, start in larger investments, I will seek out a financial advisor. But I have a base knowledge, so no one can't, steal my money. That's really important. Yeah.
I use Robinhood because it's easy. It is a beginner friendly platform, and you can start. The entry was very low, like you were saying. You can buy fractional shares and things like that. Mm-hmm. So I'm like you. I don't have a financial advisor or anything like that, but I know enough to not get taken. So
right.
But it's a good place to. Personally, I think it's a good place to start for beginners.
Yes, it is. It is. I mean, but the baseline rule is invest in what you know. Like, there, if you don't know anything about pharmaceutical on, I don't know, 8 pains or something. Like, if that's not something that you are aware of, but you're always shopping at I don't know, Lane Bryant or something like that. You invest in what you know, and that's a good place to start. Invest in companies that you are aware of. That helps you. And if you don't have the funds to buy a full stock, a mutual fund might be the best bet, because that'll give you the opportunity to get in the market, but you're not obligated to pay the full share price and still make money.
Can you tell us a little bit more about mutual funds?
Okay. So a mutual fund is basically a bunch of companies in one, right? So let's just say it's mutual fund B, for lack of a better phrase. Mutual fund B. In mutual fund B, it has companies like Apple, Amazon, Walmart, it can be different groups of different things. And so when you buy or you invest in that mutual fund, so it also helps with diversity. So is if one company does bad and the other does well, then that offset to make sure that you don't lose all your money. So and as far as like risk levels, stocks are the riskiest, because you're putting all your eggs in one basket. Mutual funds is the next level, because it is stock, but it's a bunch of stock, and it's various companies. Then after that are bonds, which can be within a company or for the city or a government. And then base level is savings, like just a regular savings account. So there are a lot of stuff in between, but those are the general levels of risk.
That's good to know because you hear stock.
Mhm.
But we don't realize that we have other options, other investment options besides stock.
Right, right, right. Yeah. So and then with mutual funds, some of them have like a minimum. Like you might have to put in like $1,000 to start. Some of them don't have a minimum. So even if you want to put $15 to start, you can put in $15 or $50 or $100. And again, with the consistency, if you're going to do that, you want to make sure you do that consistently over time to make sure you get more bang for your buck.
Yeah. That's good stuff. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
I'm writing my notes. Okay.
Yeah. Everybody, like I said, if you have questions, drop them down in the comments because we're trying to get all the gems today about finances. So we've talked a little bit about saving money and budgeting and helping our money to grow and taking risks. You mentioned mutual funds, and it made me think of another financial guru that a lot of people follow, Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey is a big fan of mutual funds. He's also not a big fan of a lot of things, credit being one of them outside of a mortgage. I'm curious, what are your thoughts on credit and how to use it as a tool?
Well, let's just talk about credit score.
Okay.
People are always like, man, I got to get my credit score up. I got to get my credit score up. Now, this is my definition, and I think Dave Ramsey used a similar definition, but a credit score is how well do you manage your debt score. It's not saying that you have a lot of money. It's just saying that the debt that you have, you pay your bills.
Right.
Yeah, so let's put that in perspective because you can have a 750 credit score, but not have the equity or the debt to income ratio for you to get a house.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so you have to balance those things. Personally, I tell anybody, if you don't plan to buy anything in the next 6 months to a year, there's no reason for you to be concerned about your credit score. So anytime it's 6 months to a year is when you should really start paying attention to what it actually looks like. Again, it goes to what your goal. Like the big thing is, or my biggest thing is when I talk to my clients is that looking at their monthly debt payments. So if your monthly debt payments is over 20% of what you bring home, more than likely you're having financial strain. And I can tell you that without even knowing what's going on in your life. Because that means that you only have 80% of your money or less than 80% of your money available for rent, groceries, transportation, kids coming up or having, they coming home with a piece of paper talking about I need $50 tomorrow. Somebody birthday coming up. You only have, 70% of your income to take care of all of that. So yes, financial stress. So if you can get your monthly payments below that 20%, that's when you have freedom. That's when the freedom happens. Yeah.
That's a worksheet in your book. That's the one that kind of stuck out to me that I'm like, okay, I'm gonna dig and really do that one because those numbers kind of like okay, makes you think.
Yes, it makes you think. And so, and a lot of people don't know. Well, they know that they have strain, but having that reference of, I'm spending the majority of my money on debt. Maybe that's why I'm struggling a little bit. Maybe I shouldn't take out another loan because another loan is going to add to the struggle, So I'm just having that as a reference. It definitely helps.
It's some about seeing those numbers on paper. Sometime in the last week, I decided to do my budget review.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a tool inside the Regions app that will let you see categories that you've assigned your money to and export it as CSV into a spreadsheet. So I did that, and I did a nice little pie chart, and I knew we were eating our money, but seeing that number on paper, first of all, I had to repent and get some anointment. Second of all, my blood pressure, I had to get it back down and stop eating pork because the number, it actually kind of scared me a little. But knowing is half the battle. So being able, it's one thing to know you're struggling, but it's another thing to know why you're struggling, because then it's hard to do something about it.
Exactly.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah. It's okay though. It's fine. You're aware. And see, and the thing is that the same way you got into the situation, it didn't happen overnight. The fix it is not going to happen overnight. And so, celebrating your success along the way, say for instance, you eat out 5 times a week or whatever that number is. And you're like, you know what? We're going to strive for 4 times this week. And you do that consistently for a while. That, man, it's kudos to you. You just saved $30, depending on, I don't know where y'all going. That saves you money, for the entire month. You do that 4 consecutive weeks, man, you got $120 in your pocket. Praise the Lord. So, that, and then now you can say, well, let's strive for something else. And so celebrating your milestones along the way is just so important. And it helps you to be excited about where you are and where you are going on with your finances.
That's just a good principle, period.
Motivated.
Yes. I think about weight loss. And,
that's what I was thinking about.
So many people say, I'll love myself when I lose 20 pounds. I'll love myself when I lose 40 pounds. I'll love myself then. But what about the time in between pound 0 and pound 20? Are you going to beat yourself up that entire time? Or are you going to withhold the love and the care and the affirmation that you need in between those pounds? Don't wait until you get to the goal to appreciate the small victories in between.
Right. It's really important.
Yes. So I'm going to be happy about my sandwiches in between here.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, be happy about the sandwiches. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, and you could also set milestone goals of, I don't know if anybody's ever considered doing this. Like, one of the big things that I do is, I don't eat out a lot anyway, but, I have some restaurants that I love. So I will set a date of, man, on this day I am having Tokyo, and because I really want some sushi. And so I have something to look forward to. Like, and plus, I already know how much I want to spend there. And that, man, I got to cut back a little bit. I can't go out too much because I want to make sure that I enjoy that event, to the fullest extent. So, that doing those type of things, and those are mind tricks. That's reality. The same way you look forward to Christmas. Christmas comes December 25th every single year. It don't change. And yet we look forward to that and we wait for Christmas. Why can't we wait for anything else?
You're sure right about that. You are sure right about that. It's like going on vacation. I know I want to go on this vacation, but I don't want to go and have to eat McDonald's and chicken tenders the whole time I'm there.
Right.
Yeah, done that.
Fun. That's not fun. You took my joy.
Oh, you just mad at everybody eating Papado in places, and you at the Crack and Beach trying to be happy about it.
Oh, this was some coupons.
Yeah. 2-piece fish.
Right. Oh, too funny.
Yes. Oh, so, Mom, do you have any other questions about finances?
Today? she covered a lot. I mean, we covered a lot of ground today, and just had a lot of little nuggets that to chew on, and I really appreciate it. I really, really do. Learn something. Never too old to learn anything.
I'm glad you both learned a lot.
I know I did, man. I took a lot away, of course, about the practical aspects, the budgeting and the savings. Learned a whole lot about my investment options, but also just the principles of discipline. One thing I do want to jump back to about planning. You mentioned something about if you are planning on buying something in the next 6 months or so, you got to start planning for that. And I have had situations where I've been kind of caught in a trick bag because I didn't plan or anticipate, like the time that like the time that I had to jump out of a burning car and I ended up having to finance one.
Jumped out of a burning car, like literally?
Yeah, man, my car caught on fire and he had to jump out of it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, man. Okay. Not funny then. Funny
yeah. Wow. Well, I'm glad you got out.
I'm glad I got out too, man. The hood was turning black. I had a beater that had been paid for. I never had a note before. And then I ended up having to have one, and I had prepared for that. But what popped in my mind when you mentioned that window is mortgages. So how far in advance do you suggest people start dealing with preparing themselves to try to get a mortgage?
Well, there is having a home like comes with additional expenses, because you have to remember that when you buy a house, you're responsible for everything that happens within that home. So of course, you want to have your 4% or 5% or 20% is a traditional mortgage loan. You want to have that saved or whatever your goal is. So you want to save for your down payment. So that's number one. Number two, if you are striving to have, let's just say you're striving to have a mortgage payment of, let's just say $700, right? Yeah, I'm saying hopefully, right? 700. Yeah, you never know, right? You never know. You're doing a small starter home, right?
Okay.
A small starter home. Small starter home. All right, but we can go higher. It really
We ain't gonna count out God.
No, yeah, that's right.
Yes,
that's right.
So, but with $700 or even $1,000, whatever your mortgage payment is, could you get in the habit of paying that plus an additional $200, because utilities are probably going to go up too, power and water. So I would say that during that time, can you get in the habit of spending $1,200 on your home? Now, if you can't afford it in that 6 months and do that consistently, are you really ready to buy a house? Now, you will do it out of obligation, but that helps you in two ways, right? It helps you with learning, okay, this is what it really feels like in my budget when I'm ready to pay this mortgage. Number two, depending on what your rent is now compared to what it is later, you save up maintenance costs. You don't know how many times you're going to have to call people to your home, or you have to turn, the power on, the cable on. Then you have a cushion of money that you can use to help with that transition time or when you move into the home. So it helps you in both ways. So do that for about 6 months, or even if it's 3 months, that helps you with setting yourself up for success.
That's good, because a lot of times we don't pay attention to them baked in costs. We say, my mortgage is going to be this much, but okay, once you got the house, then what? It's on you.
Exactly. And the same principle can be applied for if you're ready to have kids. You can do the same thing for daycare. So that's actually what I advised one of my clients to do. They were planning, but they hadn't had one at a time. So I advised them to start putting money to the side. Lo and behold, probably about 3 months of 3 to 5 months later, she was pregnant. So by the time that she had the baby, they had like 7 to 8 months of daycare expenses saved. So, that made that transition that much easier for them because they already had daycare established before the baby even got there.
That's a big deal because that
basically
a lot of money.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, they Google Gaga, but my God, it's a give me some money. They don't mean it, but they just living.
Right.
With a lot of expenses.
Yeah.
Telling you, if you're old enough to hold a bottle, what we say on this channel, you're old enough to go to work, to swing a screwdriver or something. It ain't no thing as free milk up in here. Got another good question related to family. Talk quickly about budgeting for your elderly parents.
Okay. Yeah, so there are a lot of things that you can do. I don't know, what the circumstance is or if they're on fixed income. It's really important to have term care insurance earlier in the game because that can be really expensive. And you don't want to get caught up in a situation that now you and your siblings, or if you're an only child, that you're scrambling trying to figure out how to take care of your folks. So that's that part. Of course, if they have Medicaid, do you have the supplements for their health insurance and whatnot? But I will also advise just in general, it's important I know this is transitioning in a completely different way, making sure that their estate is in good legal standing as far as trust and I'm in Alabama, and so what you don't want to happen is if you get into a nursing home and then now the nursing home has rights to have to your home and take all of your anything that you own just to cover the healthcare costs. And so you don't want to be I don't know like it in enough legal detail, but just know that nursing homes can bite into your family's income if you don't have things set up properly. And that puts, your family in definitely at risk.
Oh, that's
Are there some resources then would that be going to a lawyer or things that you can do to set that estate up so that if and when you were to, needing the nursing home or whatever, that you wouldn't incur this challenge?
Yeah, so what would need to be done is that you would need to have all of your assets in a trust. So basically the trust owns everything, and so that protects you from those type of situations, and it also helps with like in Alabama, if you have any assets that's over $25,000, this includes your life insurance, that it automatically goes into probate. It's automatically public knowledge what your family owns. And so everybody will know your business. So setting it up in a trust will allow you to protect yourself and for to make sure that your plans are executed. So you won't get caught up in fighting over money at the funeral. So yes. Yeah.
Yeah, we know that happens. For sure.
Yes.
Yep. Related to that, you have a lot of people, you have their elderly relatives that are either they might not be at the stage where they're doing long-term care. They may be at the stage where they are living independently. They're heavily reliant upon their children to help, take care of them and maintain them where they are. And how do you, and this is kind of a relational question related to money, establish those boundaries and budget and get them on board? Because you still have to take care of yourself too. They need things, but how do you balance?
I mean, a lot of that is, I mean, it all goes back to communication. I mean, I don't know what level the elderly are in, So, because if they are in a point where they're incapacitated, where they can't make decisions, and you're literally like their caregiver, that's the conversation that you need to have with your siblings to see how you are going to manage it. Is it that we're splitting the cost between me and my siblings? Like, are we all putting $200 in the bucket so to help cover those family expenses? That's a conversation that you can have. Another conversation that you can also have is, who is like the financial sibling. I know they're struggling. Who would be the one to take care of the checkbook, right? And so these are early conversations that you need.
It's true.
While you're healthy.
That's right.
So while everybody's within sound mind to have these open conversations, like it's all like with me and my parents, like my parents are comfortable with talking to me about finances and talking to my sisters about what we need to do, in case something happens. Like, we know where the paperwork is and we know their thoughts. I mean, we say it jokingly around the table, I don't know if y'all got a table that y'all sit around and talk, but we're at the table, like we have those conversations in a joking way, and they'll come up like, y'all better not throw me away and all this other stuff. But
we do it.
Yes, but we have those conversations to make sure that we're all on the same page about, what our parents want. Should that ever come up? I mean, I hope it never does, but should it come up, that we know how to handle it. But that it all boils down to communication.
That's good.
Yeah, but if you are with your siblings, I pray y'all trust each other enough. But if you're in that position where you trust your siblings, it set up a bank account early, jointly, that everyone has access to. So when things like that come up, you can get the money to your parents quickly, or get it to the sibling who's close enough, so you don't have to worry about, well, let me cash app you and let me make sure, like, I gotta wait till I get paid on Friday and all this other stuff. So if you're already in that habit of putting Christmas gift money, other things, that can rebuild. So helpful as well.
Make that mug deposit only.
Exactly. Right. But if it's a separate account, then it's not going to touch yours anyway.
That's true.
That's true. That is true. That's true.
What's in there? So my sisters and I, we did that a couple of years ago, where we set up an account, and we actually help each other with pay off each other's debt. So that's a whole nother. So
we talked about that.
Yeah, I love
your dad did.
Yeah.
So just looking at our comments, Casper says, when I stopped smoking weed and drinking every night, my financial situation improved greatly. I don't understand why that is.
Yeah, but you spending $10 on a dime bag every time, that's so type of stuff. So, drinking or whatever, that's one small portion. But that's the same thing. You stop at Starbucks, if you spending $6, $7,
that's right.
On a drink, that's $35 a week if you're doing that every day. So that's $140 in your pocket. So all of us have our different vices that keep us from reaching our financial goals. It's just that we're not comfortable enough to stop it. Which goes to the question, is your desire for tomorrow greater than what your temporary desire is for today?
That's good.
Yeah.
That's a good one. So many good ones. Woo.
Man, that's so deep. That can apply.
That is. I know. You have to just let that marinate. That's deep. Yeah.
Yeah, let it sit in. Let it sit with you. Around for a little while.
Yeah.
He also said $700 you're financing a shoe closet. In Nashville, that would be true.
I mean, depending on where you are, you know. So.
Texas, Bills, Alabama, or somewhere, you know.
Yeah.
Yes.
Whatever works.
Oh, goodness.
Whatever works. So our anchor verse for tonight is John, the 8th chapter and the 36th verse. Whom the Son has set free will be free indeed. So as we've talked about dealing with our finances, dealing with ourselves, dealing with our discipline and our stewardship, and not just concentrating on being better at money, but being better stewards of everything that God has given us. He desires for us to be free. He desires not for us not to be in any kind of bondage. We will not be slave to debt. We will not be slave to bad financial habits. We will not be slave to anything that steals what abundance God has already set forth for us. So, whom the Son has set free, we are free indeed. And that is our prayer for you tonight as you go forward in finding freedom in finances and in every area of your life. So I just want to remind you, you can pick up your copy of Finding Freedom in Finances, a 21-day devotional by our author who is with us today, Latrisa Pugh. You can find that at Amazon. You can pick up a signed copy at pewfc.com. And if you come back to Sweet Tea Gems at Facebook tomorrow, Fun Friday, we'll be asking a question and giving away a copy of said book. Latrisa, where can our viewers find you?
They can find me on Facebook at PewFC or on Instagram as well. And if you would like a community to support you, you can search for PewFC community on Facebook, and it's a free community, and where we have conversations like this or other conversations, so you can grow in your finances. But if you, I will give the link to you. If I do have a budget masterclass, so I am giving some free masterclasses away. So if you sign up, you can sign up for that. And then if you want to purchase it, it's $47 after the free signups have been allocated. So you want to sign up quick. Yes.
Awesome.
Right.
So we'll get that link and we will post it here to the Sweet Tea Jams page for all who are interested in getting their balling on a budget on, you know?
All right.
Yes. So, Mom, did you have any closing thoughts?
Just like I said, wonderful session, great nuggets, just a kind of holistic approach to finances and just life in general. So many of these principles can be applied across the board. So just changing our mindset and getting into the frame that we just want better. We want to do better. And with God's help, we can. So it's great. Thank you so much, Latrisa. It was wonderful.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any closing thoughts from you, Latrisa?
I just have one. When we choose not to work on our finances, we hold back the opportunity of blessing someone else. So
True.
You're not on blessing because you will not work on your finances.
That's a whole word. That's a lot of food for thought.
Yes, it is. It is.
Yep. It's not just about you.
Gotcha. Yep. That's right.
All right. Well, everything we do here at Sweet Tea Gems is about you. So we love you and we thank you all for tuning in and hope that you've been blessed by this opportunity just to open the door to a new financial lease on life. So we will catch you all on August the 20th for our next Sidebar Session, where we will be talking about some of our favorite Black-owned businesses for Black-owned Business Month. We have one Black-owned business right here, Pugh Financial Coaching. Again, we'll get the link to her budget masterclass, but you can go to pewfc.com and check out all of her information about her classes, her book, and all those wonderful resources. Our handles, we are Sweet Tea Gems on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, where you can catch the replay of this broadcast and all of the other broadcasts that we've done before. And we are also Sweet Tea Gems on Pinterest, if anybody uses Pinterest. So follow us there. We got some neat content coming out. We had some giveaways you don't want to miss. So we're excited. Oh, and if you have ideas for Sidebar Sessions or anything else that you want to see Sweet Tea Gems do with you and for you, you may email us also at letstalk@sweetteagems.com.
Yes.
So again, we have had an awesome time with our special guest, Latrisa Pugh of Pugh Financial Coaching of Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Thank you again for coming on with us and talking about this much needed topic.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
All right. Well, signing off. We will see you all back right here on the Sweet Tea Gems Facebook page on August the 20th. You guys have a great night.